from the vault, high atop the pastoral center of the Diocese of Camden, you're listening to Talking Catholic.
Hey everybody, welcome to the newest edition of Talking Catholic. I am temporarily solo for a little bit as we are on a tight recording schedule and Mr. Sanchez is a bit tardy to the podcast, but that's okay because for this edition, we have no guest. We have our fellow host with us. And our delightful good friend, Laurie Power, is with us today. How are you?
I'm great, Mike. Glad to be here.
Fantastic. So we will not be, I guess we could talk Saints today. You'll get a lot less out of me than you would out of Pete, though, of course. That's the only downside. The other downside is by the end of this, Laurie may be doing this podcast all by herself because I am suffering one heck of a head cold. So I will not sound great. You are going to hear coughing in the background, but I will do my best not to sniffle at the mic.
That's good.
So anyway, a couple of big events coming up. Most notably is, or not necessarily most notably, I think these are all of equal note to one degree or another. But the one I was working on most recently is the 15th Annual Justice for All Dinner, which is on October 4th at Resorts Hotel in Atlantic City. Catholic Charities is going to be honoring Sister Norma Pimentel, the executive director of Catholic Charities of the Rio Grande, who has been, or the Rio Grande Valley, who has been doing amazing work working with immigrants coming across the Texas-Mexico border at her respite center. These are people who enter into federal law enforcement and are eventually released from federal law enforcement. And they come to her respite center with she literally gives them a shower, some clothes, gives the parents some downtime from having spent so much time with their children. So there's childcare there, and we've over the course of the last 6 months we've been sending down a lot of pilgrims who have been coming back just changed people after having been there. So we would invite you to come along to the 15th Annual Justice for All Dinner. You can go to catholiccharities.org/JFA 2018 to learn more about it. But I'll be there. Our good friend and former and future guest of the podcast, Mary McCusker, will be there along with her boss, Mr. Hickey, and a number of the Camden Catholic Charities people that you've heard on the podcast before. So definitely make sure you come out. Then I'm trying to think. The St. Padre Pio Festival is this Saturday. So if you're listening to this right now, or this Sunday rather, if you're listening to this right now, we certainly encourage you to go down and see Father Sinatra and our good friends at their what was once a parish and now a parish shrine. That cool. That decree has just been made by the bishop, so it's now considered a shrine of the Diocese of Camden. So that's going to be a full day that goes from noon to 6, the St. Padre Pio Festival. There'll be an Italian Mass at 2 p.m. and a opening Mass and procession at 11 a.m. Have you ever been there before, Laurie?
I've been down to the now shrine, but I have not been to the festival.
I tell you,
sounds good.
I highly recommend it. The food alone is worthwhile.
It's worth the drive?
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely worthwhile getting down there for the food alone. And of course, our beloved Father Sinatra, whom we all love a great deal, and we like to annoy whenever we can. But not for this. We like to annoy him for other things. And then we have Man Up South Jersey, which we've talked about a few times in the past. We've had Deacon Anthony Seo on. That's going to be November 10th. You can learn more about that at manupsouthjersey.com. It's specifically for men from across the Diocese of Camden to gather for a men's spirituality conference. This year's theme is about missionary discipleship, to be the man that God intended. And this kind of conference really provides an opportunity for men to encounter Christ in a special way so that they can become better husbands, better fathers, better sons, better employees, better employers, just better men. We've talked about it a little bit that men oftentimes have a hard time publicly embracing their spirituality. It just sort of runs counter to the world we live in right now. I don't know. Do you find that to be the case that there are certainly very public
That's true.
loving men, but as a percentage, it always seems to skew to
More
the female
women.
side.
Yeah.
Do you find in your travels?
I do. I had a Bible study last night. There's about 20 people there and only 2 of them were men. So yes,
that
curious. Is the case.
Is there any psychology to it that you think gets in the way? Is it just men have a harder time grappling with their spirituality? I will say that the greatest, not the greatest conversations, but some of the loudest conversations I've had about spirituality have been with other men, right. But that far outweighs the number of sports conversations
true.
I've had with other men.
Maybe there's a lot getting in the way, perhaps. Work, supporting families. Going to sporting events, maybe that's...
No, so we need to turn the faith into a sporting event.
There you go.
Okay, we need to think of it as God versus the devil.
Yes.
God is currently winning infinite to 0.
Yes.
But you never know what's going to happen.
There's still a battle that has to be fought.
Exactly. We still have to be out there. I don't know. What have you ever found in your work that there were things that men gravitate to more than women when it comes to the faith, like things that they respond to psychologically?
That's a good question. Probably service type activities. So if you plan something that's going to require a little bit more strength, or if you personally invite them, seek them out for, hey, we're doing this, come to this. I've had luck with that.
That is a good point.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of, I know in my own Knights of Columbus Council, that's quite a bit what it's like.
It's true. I'm sure that's how you became a knight, right? Did someone invite you?
Father, as a matter of fact, Father Robert Sinatra was the one who invited me to become a knight. Many people have invited me to become a knight, but no one had succeeded until him. And he just sort of put it in a way that really hit home to where I was like, why wouldn't I become a knight? Right. Of course I should become a knight. It's idiotic that I'm not a knight. I'm going to go become a knight.
Fantastic.
So another thing I have to thank him for. But yeah, I think you're probably right. I certainly know within my own Knights Council that the service projects, and those are the things that the guys really get excited about, as opposed to necessarily, as opposed to, and not to besmirch Bible study, which right, I mean, let's face it, if there's any element of my faith that I really need to focus on a little bit more, it might be the Bible. And my personal formation and my faith formation. But I really do think that that's something men need to consider beyond service. It's one thing, okay, let's go out and do something in the world. Right. That's beautiful. Good works, by all means. It's the hallmark of our faith. But it's got to be good works with the good news. Right?
Exactly.
Why do we do these good service projects?
That's my new job, Mike. Nice segue there.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. Which, by the way, what is your new job?
Well, let's see. My title is the Director of Evangelization and Discipleship down at Christ the Redeemer in Atco. So a couple weeks ago, I got to get up in front of the whole parish and basically try to explain to them, like, what am I doing here? Because this is a new position for the parish. And it's relatively new in the diocese. Like, I know Deacon Anthony Seo is doing something similar at his parish, but other than that, not too many people have a paid staff member in charge of this. So I had to start with that. So fortunately, I have a couple things starting already, so I could talk to them about Bible study. We're also doing something for 4 and 5-year-olds, Catechesis of the Good Shepherd, which is very exciting. So really discipleship at every level. But ultimately, what I started with was, why do we exist as a parish? We're here as a church, universal, and as a parish to evangelize. And if we're not doing that, then what are we doing? Why are we here, right?
It's funny to hear you say that, because I've just recently, at my home parish, not my current parish, but the parish I was brought up in at St. Michael's in Clayton. Though at the time it was St. Catherine's in Clayton. As part of my presentation related to Catholic Strong, I really hit home about the missionary discipleship angle. And, a lot of people get hung up. We certainly understand that where Catholic Strong is concerned, it can be, for anyone who's listening and doesn't know what Catholic Strong is, it's the development campaign for the parishes of the diocese, seeking to raise $50 million, 70% of which will go directly back to the individual parishes that did the fundraising. 30% of that money goes to the diocese to specifically work on ministries related to religious education, new service opportunities, specifically supporting people struggling through the opioid addiction, as well as ministries for autism, and then evangelization, of which missionary discipleship is a major part of that. And, as part of my presentation, I was like, okay, listen, our parishes where, we know we've gone through the merger process, that was 10 years ago. our parishes have stabilized. Everyone's doing fine financially by and large, but now it's time to move beyond stabilized. Now it's time we have to begin moving out again and bringing people back into the church. And we know that there are struggles about that, particularly during this time of the thing, which I will bring up our last news item before we start into our own chit-chat. I hope you are aware, the bishop has decided to hold an evening of prayer for the victims of abuse and reparation for the sins of the church. And he was very, very clear about the specificity of this, that as a community of Christ, we need to come together as being all parts of the one body of Christ, not just the clergy, not just the laity. All elements of those who are Catholic should come together and pray for the victims who have been abused by priests and church leaders over the decades. And then, just as importantly, we need to show a penitential act to make reparations for the sins of the church. There are certainly, as we know, there are going to be lots of legal aspects to this and policy changes and procedural changes, but we also need to embrace the spirituality of which we are part of our faith. And he felt very strongly that it was important that he lead this prayer service at which he's invited all clergy in the diocese to come to, and just as importantly, all laity from the diocese come to. So there are going to be two. There will be 2 days of these prayer services. One with him at St. Agnes Church, part of Our Lady of Hope Parish. It's at 701 Little Gloucester Road in Blackwood, and that'll be on September 28th at 7 p.m. And then on October 5th, knowing that not everybody is going to be able to make it to that one Mass, he's asked the deans, there are 5 deaneries in the diocese. If you don't know what a deanery is, that's a region of the diocese. There's 5 deaneries, and he's asked those deans to come up with local masses in each of those regions. So there's actually going to be 6, because one of our deans is kind of weirdly shaped. They're pretty far on 2 ends. So we're going to have one for a southern part of the dean and one for the northern part of the deanery. But those will be at St. Joseph the Worker in Haddonfield, Church of the Incarnation in Mantua, Christ the Good Shepherd in Vineland, St. Andrew the Apostle in Gibbsboro, St. Catherine Drexel in Egg Harbor Township, and Our Lady Star of the Sea in Cape May. And those will all be on October 5th at 7 p.m. And they will all be very similar services, again, praying for the victims of abuse and reparation for the sins of the church, because, this is something that's very much on the forefront on a lot of people's minds. After I gave my presentations last weekend, I did have a lot of people come up to me and talk to me about it, and I've been happy to have conversations with a lot of our priests who said, by and large, their parishioners have been very supportive, knowing that, certainly in our region, the stories that came to light, which had been known, are from many years ago. Yes. And in the early to mid 90s, the diocese had enacted a number of policy reforms to make sure something like this didn't happen, similar to what was created in 2002's national charter. So we had gotten our kick in the teeth early and had fixed some of our problems, yes. But now we know that there's still more work that needs to be done. How about in your life? How have you been dealing with the scandals?
Oh, well, my pastor has been really good about preaching on it, and I've been hearing a lot of different homilies on the topic, and I think the message that seems to be coming through a lot is personal holiness. So clearly we've had a failure on the part of the hierarchy, but the hierarchy they don't make up the church alone. It's us as well. Yep. So if we're going to heal the church and get past this, all of us really need to focus on growing in holiness, growing closer to Jesus, more like him. That's really the path forward.
And for years, the call has been out there for the laity to take a stronger role, yes. in the church. And certainly things happen very slowly in the church, and doctrinal changes will be one of those things. But that shouldn't release any laity from the obligation of making the effort to be leaders in the diocese, which coincidentally, as we tie many of these things together, in March of 2018, it was announced just a few weeks ago that March of 2018, we're going to be having a convocation of Catholic leaders in
March of 2019.
Yes, that's all the cold medicine running through my brain right now.
Yes.
Yeah, it's March of 2019. The end of March 2019, the 25th to 28th, we'll be hosting the convocation of Catholic leaders in New Jersey. In South Jersey, based on the national convocation, which was held in Florida in 2017, which I did attend and was truly moved by. And after we were done with it, we said, we really need to have one of these locally. And what we're attempting to create is the quality of the national conference, but available to 650, 10 people from every parish in the diocese, 650 local Catholic leaders. And these might be people who don't yet realize that they are Catholic leaders.
That's right.
I was just speaking with my pastor the other day, and he told me about two of the people he was going to invite. And I know for a fact those two have never thought of themselves. They are, in fact, leaders. They just don't realize it.
Right.
And they were about to. So
it's a good thing.
Yeah, it is. And I'm really pleased that he was thinking outside the box, because they are two people who are very important in that parish, but have not been in the typical leadership positions that you would expect you would be in a parish. I would even depending on how you look at it, fairly new to the parish, only 5 years of really being active, but in that time they are notable people, and he wisely realized that they could use a little Catholic seasoning.
Yes.
Which
That's
is
a good way of putting it.
It's here I am as a Catholic. I mean, by default, I'm a Catholic leader. I'm the director of communications. But as you have heard on this podcast many times, I routinely criticize my own formation as not having been strong enough.
Yes.
So I'm like a sponge when I'm here. I listen to everybody, and like as in anything else, the diocese has many facets. So I listen and I absorb, and some stuff sticks and some stuff doesn't. And maybe that's for the best. I don't know. But what about you? I mean, you're a Catholic leader.
That's
true.
You
want some partner leaders?
Absolutely. We need help. Oh my goodness.
We really do.
That's really, I think that's a measure of a healthy parish, if lay people are stepping up and starting things and going to the pastor and saying, I want to lead a Bible study, or we need to do a faith study on this topic. And he's saying, yeah, do it. That's when we're doing well. And it's not just the staff or the priests that are leading everything. So.
Yeah. Oh. So I really hope that people will, if their pastor asks them to attend this conference, that they will go to it. And I've already seen a number of the speakers we're expecting for this event, and it's looking like it's going to be a really nice turnout with really interesting conversations. There'll be 5 plenary sessions, and I think they're going to have something like 45 workshops.
That's great.
We're asking the parishes to break themselves up so that different people are going to different workshops, and not just clumping together. So I really think it'll be a great opportunity for people to come out.
I think it's great that the pastors are going to be there too.
That's important. Well, it is, because the worst thing that can happen is for the Catholic leaders to get all this training and all this idea and
get all excited.
Get all excited, and the pastors have no idea what they're talking about.
Right,
He said, no, let's all go in this together, and let's be of help. So Bishop Sullivan's very excited about it. I'm very excited about it. A number of we've actually pulled the sort of the steering committee for this from different areas of the diocese, and so it's a nice eclectic group. Missionary discipleship is another one of the heavy elements of it.
Yes, of course.
So we're hoping to push that. So anyway, keep an eye out for that. Not everybody will be able to go, obviously. These are people who are being picked, but hopefully people that or by all means, if there's somebody in your parish that maybe your pastor hasn't considered yet, maybe put the bug in his ear and say, this person might be good. Or, if you think maybe this is something for you, I will tell you that paid staff is not who the target is expected to be. It's really supposed to be, parishioners. I have no doubt that some paid staff will be there who sort of run that, who are on both sides of that line. Yes. But no, so I hope people take advantage of it, and it should be fun, and it's going to be at Harrah's, and we've got a lot of fun things planned, interesting ideas, supposed to be great music. So I'm very excited about it. I cannot wait until the end of March rolls around for two reasons. One, I really want to see what this looks like. And two, I really want the stress of putting it together to be behind me. It's, oh my God, it's so stressful.
It's a major event.
It really is. Yeah. It is. And somehow, I have a background in events management. And, but when I came to the diocese, I remember saying, I said, okay, I'm do anything you want, but please don't ask me to do any events. And I think I'm working on 4 now.
Oh, no.
So that's a problem with having a little bit of knowledge and skill.
True.
You get brought into everything else. So, Laurie, what is going on with you?
What's going on with me?
Yes, now that we've gone through 20 minutes of weird news and chit-chat.
It's not weird news. It's important things that are happening that people need to know about, right?
Yes, but it once again proves how difficult this is to do and why Pete is so necessary, because I never have to worry about this stuff.
About filling in.
That's right, exactly. I can just make, sarcastic comments and just sit on the sidelines.
Oh, well, thank you for not making them in my direction.
No,
I appreciate that.
No, well, I took it all. Trust me, I promise I will make at least 3 sarcastic comments to you.
Okay.
No problem.
All right. Well, let's see. Can I do some shameless plugs
for
more events?
Yes. Yes, please.
Not shameless. They're actually diocesan-wide. Everybody's invited. They just happen to be happening at Christ the Redeemer. So one of them is actually a nationwide event for October 7th. It's called Rosary Coast to Coast. Basically just inviting Catholics to come together, pray for our nation, 4 o'clock Eastern time, wherever you are. Pray a rosary, or you can come to Christ the Redeemer. We will be praying it together there. So everyone's invited. I think there are a couple sites down the shore too. So if you go to Rosary Coast to Coast, search that on Google, you can find the places that are hosting. So we need more prayer, definitely.
Excellent. I like that.
The other event I'm really excited about, it's called the 177 Project. Have you heard about this?
I have seen the advertising for it, and I want someone to explain it to me.
Yeah. Okay. So there are 177 dioceses in the United States. And there's this ministry called Adoration Artists who felt called to bring adoration to every single diocese. So in a matter of, I think in 3 months' time, they're going to go to all 177 dioceses. They'll start with, I think, the Rosary. And then we'll have a time of Eucharistic adoration with Catholic artists that they've invited in to lead praise and worship. And then there is a concert that follows that, and it's all free. You do need tickets, but it's free. So
how do you get tickets?
Go to the177project.com, or you can call Christ the Redeemer. We have them as well in the office.
And you're hosting it?
We're hosting it, yes, in Atco. So come
Lovely
on down.
Atco. Yes, if you haven't been to Atco, I recommend it. It's that part of New Jersey none of us ever go to.
No.
And because it's sort of on the way to every place.
That's true.
But not necessarily where you're going to.
30 runs right through it, yeah.
That's right. Most people who live in Northeast Philly have driven right past Berlin a lot. But as they're heading down to, say, LBI or the shore somewhere. But that is a great parish. That is a great pastor, Father Chris Mann, right?
Yes. He's been on the podcast a couple times.
He has. He still holds the record for the #1 individual podcast.
Because it's on our website. He's sharing it with people.
And I do appreciate that.
Yes.
But sure, he has an amazing following.
Yes. Yeah. He's got quite a testimony, too. Quite a life story to share. So
he could not be any less boring.
That's true. That is true.
And you've been enjoying your time in the parish?
Yes,
having
absolutely.
Switched?
Wonderful people. Yeah, it's good. But we're seeing sort of the same thing that everyone's seeing, sort of shrinking congregation, shrinking. So that's why I'm there.
Well, and
encourage the people who are there to invite others back. And it's so simple. It doesn't have to be complicated.
No, and you do it in such a good way, too, if I may say. There you have an outward joyfulness about you. In addition to being very knowledgeable about the faith, you are just naturally engaging. It's like,
thank you, Mike.
How can I put this? Well, I'll tell you what makes it difficult, though, is personality really does go a long way when it comes to how we communicate things. And if you are a joyful, ebullient person, people naturally respond to that, and you are. If you are like me, grimacing and angry half the time,
oh no,
it's very difficult to be a communicator. Which is why I'm routinely asked to appear on camera, and I routinely say no.
No, really?
Well, yeah, because
you only want to be behind the camera.
I love being behind. You know that. I love being behind.
Great shots, by the way.
Thank you very much.
I always look and start. Oh, Mike got that one. Very good.
I don't think I got any in this paper, but I've had a good run this summer. But it's true though. It's like I know that as we recently attested to men not living their Catholic faith proudly enough. I I am not necessarily the face of the diocese. I don't mind pulling the strings in the back.
Right.
And say like, oh, this person would be great on camera. This person would be great on camera. I'll help you with all of this. But I'm not that. But you are. The flip side is you are the face of the diocese and the mouthpiece of it. You, Marianela Nunez from our school's office, Andres from the Hispanic Ministry office, Father Chris Mann, and then just the rank and file in our parishes. That's the church. Yes. I am not the church. I am the PR monkey.
You are the church.
I'm a cog of the church.
Maybe your gift isn't being out in front. Maybe.
Oh, I can guarantee it's not being out in front. I've been interviewed a couple of times, and let's say in my lifetime, I've probably had 5 on-camera interviews.
Wow.
I have had exactly 1 that I liked. 1, and it was for nothing consequential. I was the city producer for the Philadelphia 48-hour film project in like 2011, 2012. And a friend of mine worked at CBS 3 when they still had their noon talk show. And so I did that. I did a 10-minute spot on that. And that was the only one I was ever good at. All the rest of them, it's like, I'm good. I'm good.
Have you always been in PR? Was that like you?
No, I started out as a journalist. Nice. Well, I went to college to be a teacher. Okay. And turns out, kids, you really do want to study in college because if you graduate with a 2.0, they will not give you a teaching certificate.
Oh, dear. That's good to know.
I when they weren't kidding around when they said a minimum of 2.5, I had gotten used to getting away with things. Ooh. And that wasn't wise on my part. But don't worry, I made up for it with a nearly 4.0 in my master's in public relations.
Good for you.
I got a B in one class.
You were capable. You just weren't applying yourself,
That's exactly
Michael.
Right. I was. And my mother, if my mom's listening now, you were right. Laurie said it. You were right. I was not applying myself. But no, I wanted to be a history teacher, and I quickly learned that history teachers don't retire. They die.
Oh, my goodness.
So with that being said, they never leave that job.
That's right.
So you have to wait.
So you can't get one until they die.
If you want a history job as a teacher, a history teacher job, you can't look at the one ad. You have to look at the obituaries. Because that's how, and I mean that in the best possible way.
I see what you're saying.
So I finally did. So I couldn't really find a job, but I wrote pretty well, and my father taught me to be a photographer. So I found a newspaper I found a newspaper in Pitman, New Jersey that hired me as an ad rep, but would let me write and take pictures on the side.
Oh, good.
So I worked there for maybe 6 months, then they folded.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was a shame. I was not a very good ad rep. Much better wordsmith. And but it got me enough clips that I was able to get a job working on the shore for the Gazette Leader publications, shore publications, which eventually became part of the Atlantic City Press. So I did a lot of work for them for about 2 years. And then a teaching position came open at Gloucester Catholic. Wow. I worked there for a year. And then... were
you teaching history?
I taught junior history and sophomore English. Okay. And I really loved it. I was great. But I looking back on it now, I realized that I was too young and too stupid at that time. And fortunately, they had a drop in enrollment. I had been the last teacher hired, so I was the first one asked to leave. And I was like, this is probably for the best.
It's God's will.
I didn't realize it at the time, but this is probably for the best because I immediately started looking for other jobs, picked up a job as a writer for a medical publication called Slack. Anybody who's lives in the Thoroughfare area knows Slack / Vindico. So I did that job for a while. And then
So what did you write for them? Do you know anything about medical?
Oh, yes, as a matter of fact. Yeah, I covered the eye care industry. Most specifically, I worked for a company called, it was OCN, or a paper called OCN. It was, OSN. Hold on. No, not orthopedic. I can't believe it. I can't remember the word. Not optometry. It was
like ophthalmology.
Ophthalmology.
There
Thank you.
Okay.
Ophthalmology. Anyway, it was an ophthalmology magazine, so I covered the medical side of it and how cataract surgeries were done and stuff. But it was written for doctors, so I had to write on that level.
Yeah.
And what I realized, I worked there for about 2.5 years, and what I realized was that's really not where my strong suit is, but they eventually allowed me to transition into writing business and law stories, which I got pretty good at. And then when I left there, I ended up working I realized that I had read so many press releases and saw how many of them were terrible that I was like, you know what? let me try being a PR guy. And there was this nonprofit called Volunteers of America.
Oh, yeah.
And I worked there as their communications manager, and eventually I've had a couple titles there. Eventually I ran the communications department, and that was a great experience. That, I will say, aside from working with wonderful people, that really taught me, because they ran halfway houses or transitional houses and homeless shelters, both permanent and transitional, and behavioral health elements, and it was unbelievable. Worked with amazing people, truly wonderful work being done to help people really achieve success who had fallen on hard times. And it was a great experience. That's where I first learned how to run events. So
there you go.
Yeah. So and that was a great experience. We had this big gala ball that was part of the Oscars. It took place on the same day as the Oscars. It was black tie.
Wow.
We'd show the Oscars on a big screen. Had all these different awards ceremony. It was really great.
That sounds fun.
Yeah,
do they still do it?
They do something similar. It used to be called Oscar Night in America. Now it's called the Red Carpet Gala. I think is what it's called. But you were able to do it through the Oscars, and I think the Oscars dropped that, and so they sort of created it on their own. But it was great. And then after working there for like 2.5 years, I realized that I needed corporate experience, so I became a PR guy working for a law firm. As you might expect,
okay,
I was compensated nicely.
Yes.
However, I lost a bit of my soul.
That's unfortunate.
I'm a middle of the road political guy, but after a while, writing about how to break strikes was a little tough for me.
Yeah.
Once again, it was a good experience, and I moved on to I did events management for 4 years, and that was a great experience. I worked with amazing people. That has been the benefit of my job. I have done good work, but mostly what all my jobs have been was to teach me stuff.
There you go. I was just going to say that. The Lord was preparing you for this job.
Basically, my role in life is jack of all trades. I can talk to you about eye care. I can talk to you about halfway houses. I can talk to you about all sorts of law. I can talk to you about how to run an event. I can talk to you about computer graphics and animation. I mean, photography as well, public relations. So all of that. So I ended up sort of creating this big. So that 2.0 in college ended up as a 4.0 in the real world.
Nice.
Because I just got so much experience. I just bounced around. You look at my LinkedIn profile. I mean, you just heard me give you a little run. There were 2 more jobs after that.
Oh my goodness.
Before I got here, and so what?
Were you doing a master's at the same time, or did you go back to school?
I started my master's at where was I? I started my master's at Volunteers of America.
Nice.
Hold on, wait a second. Let me get this right. Now that you mentioned it, it spanned 3 jobs, 2 years and 3 jobs.
Wow.
I started it when I was at Volunteers of America. I did when I worked for the first law firm I worked at. That was about a year in the middle, and then I finished it working at the events management place, which had no use for a PR guy. Like
that's funny.
There was no correlation between those two, which is why. But I ended up working there for a couple of years before I landed another good PR spot, and then that actually was a good law firm that I worked. The second law firm I worked for, because they were very social minded. So it actually was a pretty good fit. Not necessarily a good fit in terms of like their philosophy and the Catholic Church's philosophy wasn't necessarily on the same page, but they were very committed to social service projects. So it was an easy transition anytime I had to work with Catholic charities once I came here. But then, I tell you, I came here. My wife saw the ad in the Star Herald.
Oh, is that how you?
She found
out about this?
Yeah, that's about what I wasn't thinking about it. And she saw an ad that the schools department was looking for a communications professional, communication specialist, and I was like, give it a try. See what they're interested.
Was your son in Catholic schools at that point, or not yet?
He had just started at that point.
So there you go. You're a supporter.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I am. I am very much a supporter of Catholic schools. But they saw my resume and said, "That's nice, but you might be better for this other job as the director of communications."
That's great.
And I was like, "Oh, thank you very much." And everything has just been sort of great since. I 20 years ago, I could not have told you this is where I would have ended up. But I will say that one of the first newspaper articles I wrote, probably in the first 6 months I was there, Wildwood Catholic was having a teacher strike.
Oh, no.
And as part of the teacher strike, I had to interview. They asked me to call the bishop and get a quote from him. Well, I called the bishop. I got the bishop. I didn't get the director of communications.
Right,
I got the bishop. I ended up talking to Bishop McHugh about the teacher strike in Wildwood. It was the weirdest thing ever.
That is weird. Did he pick up the phone?
He did.
Oh, wow.
I don't know how I pulled it off, but I talked to him specifically.
Wow.
And at the time, I know Andy Walton. I think Andy Walton would have been here at that time, and he's revered in the diocese. He was the public relations director then. And someone who I knew enough about to follow his career and try to emulate it once I got here. And But even when I was in my public relations classes, I was like, okay, this is what Andy did in this kind of situation. Let me see if I can interpret some way of doing it, this case study. So anyway, I have no idea how I got through to him, but in 1996, I interviewed Bishop McHugh on the fly.
Wow.
Yeah. But for anybody who's a journalist now who thinks that's going to happen, no. Me first.
Go through Mr. Walsh.
Then I'll call Bishop Sullivan. We'll do an interview. But yeah, that was really. I thought back. Just thinking about that like a few months ago. I think that is so weird that I was able to get through to the bishop on a whim.
That's true. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So now when we started this podcast, I said I have a cold, and I'm gonna have. You're gonna have, Laurie. You're gonna have to do most of the talking.
Stop talking.
And this is quickly becoming the Mike Walsh podcast.
That's all right. You haven't done one yet as like a guest.
That's true. I have not. I have not done. It's funny. I had. There's a Knights of Columbus Council that does a gala in October, and they always ask for public speakers. And or asked me for suggestions for public speakers, and they wanted to do the combination of technology and faith. So I asked around to a couple of people, and no one was really comfortable with that topic. So I wrote back to the guy and said, I'm having trouble finding someone that I think would be a good fit for you, but here's some other ideas that you might want to consider. After I sent the email, one of my coworkers goes, Mike, that guy that's you.
That's right.
I was like, oh.
Didn't occur to you. You have those skills.
I don't want to speak to anybody. I'll screw it up.
Oh, no.
So,
Did you end up doing it or no?
No, it's not until the middle of October. No, I gave him Jim Manfredonia from Domestic Church Media.
Because he'd be good.
Yeah, I think
He's
so.
very comfortable, I think, in front
very
of people.
comfortable, and that radio station has done a great job of aligning their social media presence with their spirituality.
That's great.
I routinely try to steal ideas from them for stuff we do. Because I really do think they do a great job.
I don't know if I follow them. I should do that.
You should.
Wow.
Yeah, okay. And I recommend downloading their app too. They have a really good app. Because sometimes you can't. There's a couple of holes in their coverage zones in South Jersey, their radio coverage zones. So that app, picks up everything.
Good.
So I recommend it. Yes, Domestic Church Media.
Yes.
Free plug for them.
Nice.
There you go. Well, they run a lot of good stuff for us, so I don't mind giving them a little plug. And Relevant Radio is lovely too. Don't want to offend anybody. XM channel or Catholic channel and XM, they're lovely. They're all lovely people.
EWTN, of
course. Yeah. Well, that's what DCM is an affiliate
that's right.
of
that's
EWTN.
Right.
Yeah, but they're lovely too.
Good.
Hey, listen, I'm a fan of all of our fellow Catholic communicators.
Yes, anybody who's getting the word out. Yeah.
Yeah, so long as you're not a little too far to one side and a little too far to the other side, so long as you can have a conversation, yes. I am very much a proponent of that. And I don't mind extreme positions so long as we're comfortable having a conversation.
There you go. Right? Civility. That's what we need.
I'm such a big fan of that.
Yes.
This is really turning into the Mike Walsh podcast, to which I apologize to everybody. But I have thoughts that pop into my head, and I have a podcast, so I'm going to say it now. I'm going to be like Mark Maron. I'm going to just start to keep talking. If you don't know who Mark Maron is, that's probably good, but he's one of the godfathers of podcasting. It occurred to me as I'm a political junkie. I love politics. I love not so much the ramifications of politics, but I appreciate the show of politics, right? Yes. I'm the guy that watches C-SPAN. That's me. Nice. And what has really started to bother me in the last 3 years is that everyone's got a hot take, and there's no true discussion period anymore. Like, the Kavanaugh stuff that's gone. when I was growing up, I used to watch Supreme Court justice hearings were the best because you'd have all these really intellectual people coming together and grilling this guy on what he would do in a particular situation. This was the first time I watched a Supreme Court Supreme Court. Can't think of the word. This is the drugs hitting me, folks. Can I remember what that word is? But confirmation process, where I was really sort of taken aback by some of the senators, and it was more about posturing than it was an actual back and forth, not interrogation, but conversation. Yeah. And back in the day, moderates were the biggest part of Congress and any political activity. And now everything's on the extremes. And because it's on the extremes, no one's willing to talk anymore.
That's true.
And it kills me. I'm constantly amazed at how just because someone's a D and someone's an R, they can't possibly get along. And that was not the way it was for most of our country. So that kind of stuff pains me. So that's why one of the reasons we created the podcast was to have conversations. Although this one has been very one-sided because you keep asking me questions and I keep answering.
Hey, it's good. You've never gotten to do your Meet Mike Walsh podcast. So this is good.
That's true. We're still calling this Laurie Power, though. Right?
Oh, dear. Okay.
We're not going to call it because no one's interested in Mike Walsh.
It's good that you told your story because it makes me think like, okay, so you said you're not the, ebullient out there,
not
joyful.
Like you,
okay. But you obviously have a lot of connections. You know a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, perhaps God has put those people in your life so that you can share the good news with them, Mike.
Well, it's funny you should say that because it's so funny you picked up on that. There have been times I've actually been not depressed, disappointed that I work for the diocese. Not because I'm sad about working for the diocese, but when I was out in the world, I was that rare good Catholic working in all I could witness to people, and they would ask me questions, and I'd give the explanation. Like I remember when Pope Francis resigned, or not Pope Francis, Pope Benedict resigned, and everyone was like, "Huh? Where's Mike? We got to talk to Mike about this." And my first thing was, I got to find some answers.
That's right.
It's like 600 years ago, huh? The last one. All right. Well, there's precedent.
That's right.
Pope
Benedict knew that. So,
right?
Yeah.
And I remember writing a blog post about it when that happened, and I said at the time that might have been the best gift that, whether you think it in the short term, in the long term, that might be the best gift that Benedict XVI gave us, was the ability for a pope to retire. Because there were those, they really thought John Paul II, for all of his saintliness, the Catholic Church might have been in a better place had he had retired earlier for health reasons.
Right, and he was suffering.
And he really was, and that seems to be more than anybody's due. So when he did that, I remember thinking, the only person that could have done that was Pope Benedict, because he is so strict in his thinking. You knew that he would have explanation for it.
Yes.
And more importantly, would then follow it when he retired. So, he could have easily retired as Pope and then thrown the world into schism by disagreeing with the following Pope, and he has not done that.
He would not do that. Yes.
No, because the last thing he would want to do is create schism.
It's true.
Because the Catholic Church is very strong, and we can get past many things.
That is true. Though I would disagree with you. Look, we can disagree.
Oh, hey, yeah. But I can control your mic. So
well, that was definitely a contribution. But he's probably one of the greatest scripture scholars alive today.
Right.
So his writings on scripture, I believe, are his greatest contribution to the Catholic Church, in my opinion. So,
okay.
If you haven't read his 3-book series, Jesus of Nazareth, highly recommend it.
That's a great idea. I haven't, and I should.
You could do one for Advent on the infancy narratives. It's short.
Ooh.
Yeah.
See, you're so much smarter than I am.
No, I'm not.
See, you're smarter.
I just have more exposure to Catholic things, maybe. I don't know.
Right. That's why I rely on people so much, like you and our erstwhile Pete Sanchez, who, by the way, had a bit of a health flare-up, and that's what he's off taking care of right now. So we certainly hope
pray for Pete,
and hope he feels better soon. And we want him back on the podcast as soon as we can.
Yes.
Because I can guarantee you he is not happy about missing a podcast. He's missed 2 out of 86. Now, of course, he gets all the extras with you, so I've missed all those, so he gets all the extras with you. For those of you who don't know, that Pete and Laurie have the Talking Saints podcast. Yes. But that's right. I keep people like you in my back pocket because I can tell you how to get through a public relations disaster.
Great.
I can help you with that.
I hope I never have to call you, Mike. We don't want any of those.
No.
At my new parish.
Please no. But at the same time, one of the great jokes of our gang of friends is, prior to whenever this was taken care of, where do dead babies go? It's like, but this is 25 years ago. We used to have this discussion, and that's where I was like, I got to tap out.
That's right.
I'm out. I have not read any of these articles, none of these books. I will absorb whatever you got to say.
There you go.
So, Laurie, where did dead babies go?
Into the merciful arms of Jesus.
That's right. That's right.
Or his blessed mother. I'm sure she'd be happy to take him.
Oh, yes, she would. As you would like to take all of us when that day comes.
Yes.
So, have you found your new parish to be embracing of you?
Yes, indeed.
Really?
It was kind of funny that you said this about Joy, because one of my coworkers said, "Have you seen that movie Inside Out? You're just like that one character, Joy." I was like, "Oh my goodness."
Your coworker is so correct.
Is she right?
That
but
is
Joy
you.
Is kind of like surface. That's all she's got. I was like, I have many facets.
Well, yeah, you have. That is true. You are also not a Pixar movie, though.
That's
you
true.
have
That's
much.
true.
You have much layer to you.
Yes.
But that's great though.
Yeah, it's good. So they have embraced me, yes. Because
Yeah.
I think they were wondering, like, who's this girl from up the pike? Like, what is Father Chris bringing in? So it's good.
I always like it when. Well, I mean, it can go two ways. I shouldn't say that, but one of the nice things one of the things I appreciate about how the Diocese of Camden handles its pastors is, 6 years with an extension for 12 years, and then you move someplace else. Now, this is Father Chris Mann's first pastor position. However, he brings with him something that parish has never seen before. Mostly because there ain't nobody like Father Chris Mann. But, like it or dislike it, you're definitely going to get a new experience. And
That's true.
My career shows nothing. It is that having lots of different experiences is very beneficial.
Yeah.
So I like it when pastors move around.
I don't know. I go back and forth. I was talking to a Protestant convert about that, and she was truly upset because one of her parochial vicars was moved, and they only stay a very short time. She's like, our family's being torn apart. How can they do it? Like, she didn't understand. And the two cradle Catholics were like, this is just how it is, But I could see the good of having, a pastor, a father figure there for an extended period of time.
And it can be difficult, but even in the pain, I mean, that's the beauty of being a Catholic, we sort of embrace the pain of our lives. Even if, let's say you're the greatest pastor of all time ends up leaving your parish, right? You get two options. You get not options, you get two opportunities. One, you get to really appreciate that pastor because whoever's there that you're not as fond of, oh man, boy, did I really love Pastor Smith, because Pastor Walsh sucks. But in addition to appreciating your former pastor, that other pastor is going to bring stuff that
the former didn't.
Yeah, exactly. And I've had pastors that were amazing spiritual leaders, right? But they could not run a parish.
Right.
So that parish would
exactly,
and they become and the parish suffers because of it. And then you have other ones that are fantastic administrators, but they couldn't preach their way out of a paper bag. And when that happens, my wife, I will give this example to her. She loves going to Saturday morning mass. That's one of her goals.
That's great. Started.
Yeah, it really is. We're too busy to do daily, but Saturdays, she no matter what, she's going to do mass. And she took it upon herself. Our parish stopped having a Saturday morning mass. And she took it upon herself to find another parish, and she realized that one of our former associate vicars had become an administrator elsewhere, not about 20 minutes down the road. She's like, I'm going to and he has a Saturday mass. I'm going to the mass. So now she's not only the opportunity to have been a parish that has a strong administrator. She knows she's close enough that she can go to someone who really speaks to her spiritually. Yes. And best of all, she's now going to a place a community that she has never been to before. One of my favorite places. And I always say it's the part of South Jersey you could pick up and drop in Alabama and you wouldn't notice any difference. And
do you not want to tell us what parish?
Well, I don't know how people will react to it, so I don't want to kick anybody in the teeth. Yeah, I'll tell you later what it is. But it's but it really works for her, and it's she comes back on Saturday mornings, like Saturday around noon. And you can just tell she's rejuvenated in her spiritual faith. And
fed.
Because we live in a world where we can drive almost anywhere.
That's
as long as we are physically capable and we got a car and gas, we can go places. If you have those abilities, don't feel locked in. And if you don't have those abilities, Uber.
That's true.
Uber is great. You can get $5 to go 10 miles, maybe $20 to go 10 miles. I don't know, but you can get there.
That's true. You can. I just took a Lyft to work the other day when my car died. Yeah.
All right. If there's a car service that will take you to Atco, New Jersey, you can go anywhere.
That's true.
Because there's not a lot in Atco, New Jersey. Cow tipping. But no, I'm just teasing. There's no cows in Atco.
Haven't seen anybody doing that.
No, there's no cows, and those are in Hamilton. I don't think cows are in Hamilton either. That's just.
We are the Garden State. There's got to be some farms around here, right, with cows on it. Yeah. Not up here in Camden area, but.
No, not a lot. No, not much here. But anyway, but yeah, no. I think that's fantastic. So for those of you who sort of hate the fact that your favorite pastor just took off, it just means it's a new opportunity.
That's true.
I kind of get hung up on that a little bit when I hear people complain about church closings, and for me, the structure has never been what the church was about. It's always been the people.
It's the people, yeah.
I'm nourished by conversations like this, and the Mass and the Eucharist, and all. And I'm not saying that we don't need Mass. I'm just saying that structure, if you look at it from a certain point of view, almost becomes superfluous.
It's true.
Now.
We can celebrate Mass anywhere.
We can, and I have. Not me, but I've been present when Mass has been celebrated elsewhere. Even like on a camping trip Actually, that's probably one of the best Masses I've ever been to. Was Father Joe Byerly and a group of our friends went camp. I've been camping several times, not recently, but many times over the span of about 10 years. And Sunday mornings we would have Mass around the picnic table, and I don't know, just. The smell of the bug spray and the lack of sleep and the heavy humidity, it just added something to the Mass for some reason.
That's true.
But it was some of the most powerful experiences I've had.
And it's nice to have friends who are priests.
That also, that's another we don't talk about much as laity. If you talk to Pete, he has priest friends that how do I put this? Have such an influence on his life, and he is so appreciative that they enjoy having him around and having the dialogue back and forth. Get to know your priests and find ones that you can be friendly with. That's right. Priests are great friends. Things go wrong, man. They show up. They are helpful. They all have like interesting backgrounds. Like I know a couple that are incredible gamers, a bunch that are really good photographers.
Wow.
A couple of hunters in the mix, fishermen, you name it. And then
priests are people too. We have to remember that.
They are.
And they really need us now because it's hard to be a priest in the current climate of the church. They need our support. So
yeah, particularly the young priests. It's that collar. I hate to say it. But it's been said that collars turned into a scarlet letter in some regard, in some respects.
And they're such good guys,
especially
our young ones.
Yes. The seminarians, the young priests. If anybody, I don't recall if we talked about it on the podcast or not. Yeah, we did. But the Fox 29 did an interview with Father Ed Kennedy and Father
I saw that. I said, "How did this happen?" And then I saw you in the background. I'm like, Mike made this happen.
I felt so bad that I ended up in the shot. I was like, damn, I would have moved. I felt so bad about that. Hold on, wait a second. There's a Pete Sanchez sighting.
Ooh.
Right behind you. Hold on.
Pete's here.
You know what this means is that he's only missed one podcast out of 86.
That's true.
That's the key. Hold on. Wait a second. Here he comes. And there he goes. Just as quickly as he came, he flew by. I thought he was going to sit down and get on a mic, but he got a phone call.
It's an adventure here in the vault today.
I know. This is so strange. We're breaking rules left and right. All right. If he comes back in, we'll get him on the podcast. If not, we'll definitely catch up with him in the future. I forget what we were talking about, though.
Our priests.
I was so excited. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
We love our priests, especially the young ones. And you're right. You did catch me in the background of that Fox 29 broadcast. And, I mentioned it. I think I mentioned on one of the previous podcasts that I actually asked for the raw audio because it was only a 4-minute news thing. Yeah. But it was a 45-minute interview. And they were great from minute 1 to minute 45. Yeah. And a couple of times I really got choked up because they were so good. So
can you use that audio for something else?
Well, I asked for I did.
Okay.
That's why I asked because I was going to turn it into a podcast. No edits at all. Just let it run. And news stations aren't a big fan of doing that, so I couldn't get it. But I think I couldn't tell if it was a rights issue or they just were uncomfortable because of the nature of the questions.
Just invite those two in. Have they been on the podcast?
Well, that's exactly what we're going to do. That's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to have them on the podcast, and Pete and I and Carl Peters are going to write a article about what it's like to be a young priest amidst the scandals. So, and I think it's probably good that we've allowed a little bit of breathing time because when we first spoke with one of the priests, there was a great deal of hostility in him towards those who had been predators, and he might use words that would not be appropriate for a podcast.
Okay,
so
I'm sure he's calmed.
Well, no, I hope he hasn't calmed. I hope he's just as angry as he was before, but uses different words.
Yes, okay.
But but no, I talked to a couple of seminarians when it first happened, and but their comment was it makes me want to be a better priest. Right. It doesn't make me not to be a priest. It wants me to be a priest that people can believe in again.
Trust. Yeah.
And our young priests and our seminarians, man, they are such great people. They really are. I used, when I mentioned that I was giving presentations about Catholic Strong at St. Michael's the past weekend, Father Adam Chesky comes from that parish.
Oh, that's right,
yeah. And people really responded to it because I mentioned him as part of it. And I said, listen, you have a lot to be proud of in this parish. Yes. I said, the bishop truly loves you. You gave him one of the greatest gifts you can give a bishop, and a diocese and a people is one of your own as a priest.
That's right.
That is a beautiful thing. And that's a small country parish.
It is, yeah.
And to give over a priest to that is it's beautiful. It really is. It's beautiful. But it's also beautiful when those parishes give off great laity like yourself, like other Catholic leaders in the diocese. What about you? I mean, how have you been handling the scandals?
Well, my initial response was all the priests I've ever known have been nothing but good to me. Mm-hmm. So that's not my experience. I mean, I feel for the people who were harmed.
Absolutely.
My mom's first husband actually was abused by a priest. And it has impacted our family even till today. So that's not to say it's not a big deal. It clearly is. It impacts generations. My brother is not in the church right now because of that.
Sure.
I think that's partially an excuse with him, but I mean, it's something that's obviously hurt him. So there's a lot of healing, I think, that still needs to happen. Trust rebuilt. Yeah. Absolutely.
And I think there will be people who use the scandals as a reason not to attend. Mm-hmm. And they might have been looking for it as a reason, but at the same time, you know what? Even if that's their psychology about it, that there's a truth to that they have an issue that is not being met for some reason, even if they're using this as their excuse. So let's try and meet it. That's essentially what missionary discipleship is reaching out to those people. Okay, you're in pain, and you're in pain whether deeply or superficially because of the scandals. Let's talk about it. Yeah. And if it is deeper than that, let's talk about that too. Right. What aren't you getting out of this? And how do you? And I mean, there may be elements of our Catholicism that will always be problematic for people, right. But that doesn't mean you have to leave.
Right.
Listen, I've never thought about leaving the church. I have, however, thought many times about fixing things in the church. And that was
that's good.
Yeah, but that's one of the reasons why, not that I became a director necessarily, but that I stay within the church. It was like, I have opinions, and I'd like to see things, and I think some of them might be right. So and the ones that aren't, let's talk it out, and hey, I admit when I'm wrong eventually. So
that's a good thing. There you go. Humility is key.
That's I wouldn't say I was humble about it, but I just eventually.
We can.
I will begrudgingly mention that. Okay, you're right. There you go. But it's true. Whenever I hear, you should resign, you should quit. I mean, unless you're part of the people doing damage, then you get the heck out.
Yeah.
But as a way of showing defiance, I've never agreed with that. If you are in disagreement with something, man, stay in it and fight for it and make it right. Don't turn your back on it and go elsewhere, because then nothing gets fixed.
It's true.
And you just lose something, and we lose something. So
well said, Mike.
Yes. But
don't leave.
Don't leave. Have a fight. Stay and fight. Yeah. I tell people all the time, the opposite of love is not hate. It's apathy. Hate has a direct line from love. You hate something and you have strong feelings about it.
Yes.
That's right. What's really amazing about this podcast so far, that is only my third cough.
That's great.
Which is shocking.
Good.
Yes. I think the endorphins are keeping me from just blowing up this microphone with phlegm.
Oh,
okay.
That's a nice image,
that
Mike.
Might have
Thanks
been wrong.
for that.
I apologize. Well, we are fully into 3 o'clock hour when I get a little punchy. So
that's true. It is the hour of mercy, though. So.
Oh, I hope that our listeners will be merciful with how much of me they're getting on this podcast.
So great.
It says you. You get to sit here through it. Make sure you tell your friends to listen and
I will.
lie to them and say, I did most of the talking.
Do you see me lying to people?
No, I really don't. You could fib, though.
I could say it was a good podcast
It was a great podcast.
Come hear about our,
you're going to learn some new things about Mike that nobody ever cared about. These are the interesting things.
We didn't even talk about your marital advice. That was what I wanted to know. Last time I was here, I was like, hey, you want to do pre-Canyon? And you're like, well, I have a lot of good things I can say about marriage.
Yeah, it's you work at it. That's
See, there you go. It's truth.
Going back to that thing of, things you got to fight for sometimes. And,
but it's
true,
worth
though.
it.
Most of the time, yeah. I'm sure.
She's helping you get to heaven, and you're helping her.
Well, that part is that. Yes, we can thank Father Joe Byerly for that one as well. Damn him and his stuff that's during those dark times. And it was like, oh, fine, I'll get her into heaven.
That's great.
But what was I going to say? But at the same time, the tribunal is doing lots of work with its annulments.
True.
So there are some marriages that were not meant to stay together, and we accept that.
Or that never were.
But,
that's why they were. So how did we get on this topic? Why are we talking about annulments? That's not a nice topic.
I don't know.
I guess for some people it's good.
Yeah.
If they want to get married again.
All I know is that the Pete has finally appeared.
Yes.
And is currently sitting at a mic as we were having that question of marriages and annulments.
Yeah, I came back. I'm alive.
Yes.
Thank God. So a little technical difficulties there, but I'm feeling praise God. It's a beautiful day. Great to apologize, Laurie. Let me just say happy birthday month.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
That is
it was a couple days ago. My birthday.
Well,
thank you.
So how's
Mike, it feel to be 25? It feels great.
25? Wait a minute, I thought you were 19.
Oh, thanks.
No, she can drink.
That's
she's
right.
Got
not that I ever
legal.
do.
No, but she's legal. Okay.
She's got and so how are you guys doing? Mike, you don't sound too good.
That is true. I have a head cold.
Yet he's persevered through like a champ.
God bless you. Well, thank you, Mike. Thank you for, you guys and being the rock here, you and Laurie. And so tomorrow is the first day of fall.
It is.
I have heard something about that.
Yeah. Are you guys ready for the season?
Yeah, I had pumpkin pie earlier this week, so
that's right. I saw that. Yeah. I love pumpkin pie too, so that's a plus.
Yeah,
that's good.
And it's gonna get cooler, so that's another plus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of the things I love is apple picking this time of year.
Ooh, I've never done that.
Really?
Never?
Where do you go apple picking?
Oh,
there has got to be someplace in Atco that does apple picking.
All right, I'll find it.
I'm sure. Well, there is a place up in Hightstown, New Jersey, about an hour away that I go to every year called Lee's Turkey Farm, and it's just a special place to me.
Do you get a turkey while you're there too?
No, you can hear them gobble, 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 gobble. That's what my dad does. He goes by the turkey pen and he antagonizes them. Gobble, 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 gobble. But it's just a nice place. You can pick your own apples right to the tree. The Macintosh.
Do you make apple pie? Apple sauce?
Oh, what we do. This is a big tradition of my family. My family goes apple picking, and then we do go to my aunt's house, and they have an awesome apple core machine.
Nice.
That if you put the apple in, if you've seen it and you crank it, it is awesome. It is like the coolest thing, and it shreds it, like the outer.
Right.
It just
the skin. Yeah.
It's and so we make apple pie. It's I always look forward to that, and it's just going to be fun this year when it happens. So, and also the apple cider, I guess, is coming out, and
of course, and
spring
Thanksgiving's coming.
I know, fun. Lori. What do you do?
I get to celebrate 2 Thanksgivings this year. It's a little strange.
Because you're Canadian?
No, my sister is.
Oh,
yeah.
She's being inducted into her high school Hall of Fame, but it's over the weekend of Canadian Thanksgiving. So she's coming down here, and my brother is making her a whole Thanksgiving dinner. So we're all celebrating early this year.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That is, well, my sister lives out in Vancouver,
right?
Canada,
so
and
does she celebrate both, or just Canadian Thanksgiving?
I think just Canadian. I think though. Well, I think she might do Canadian with friends, and then Thanksgiving she'll go down to visit my other sister in Oregon.
Perfect.
And shout out to my nephew Van. He will turn 7 on the 24th.
He's 7 already? Oh my goodness.
I know.
Pete.
It's amazing. He's getting so big. So I got him. Sorry I couldn't be out there, little guy, but we got a.
Does he listen to the podcast, Pete?
No, so I'm not going to. I was going to say what I got him, but I'm nervous that his mom's going to listen to this.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to be careful. But I'm just, September's a great month. We were talking about Talking Saints.
Yes.
Laurie, it's been such a pleasure doing it with you.
Absolutely.
These past. We got one exciting one coming up in September, and then another one in October. And yeah.
What do we do in September?
September, St. Padre Pio.
Oh, of course.
We'll be talking about him.
I forget Padre
this
Pio.
Sunday.
And then St. Faustina.
Yes.
Coming up, yeah.
There's
wait. When does that Talking Saints go up?
It goes on. Well, the St. Padre Pio is Sunday.
Did I get a write-up for that one?
I will, yeah.
Okay.
I will write it up.
I will not remember if you don't send me a write-up. You need to send me an image, too.
I will do that. Okay. Yes, sir.
Wow, you're getting a behind the scenes.
Yeah.
We're having a staff meeting right now.
There you go, right?
But sorry, I'm sorry, Mike. But so we'll get that, and then another saint actually that's tied to Cuba. I was looking up Saint Anthony Mary Claret.
I don't know much about him. When's his feast day?
He in October. I forget the exact day, but he was bishop of the Archdiocese of Santiago de Cuba, where my family grew up. And originally he's from Spain.
Okay.
Like my family. So it's just a lot of cool things happening, Laurie. Did you have a good summer?
I did. It went by really quick. Yeah, I changed jobs, so that was huge.
Yeah, did
we did talk about that.
Okay,
yes,
I'm a little bit behind the 8 ball here. I apologize. I should have had like an earpiece so I could hear what was going on. But
yes, God is very good to me. So.
Yeah, and Father Chris is awesome.
Yes, we discussed that as well. So he's gonna love this podcast, guys.
Well, the next one we got to get you two on, both
that'd
of
be
you
fun.
guys.
Maybe after the convocation.
That's a good idea.
There you go.
That would be. Oh, I just.
We kind of need like a diocesan guide to convocations. Y'all should get on that because we got the priest convocation, we got the catechetical convocation, we got the joy of the gospel convocation. People are gonna get confused. They're like, "What are you talking about? Which meeting?"
Yeah. So what, Laurie? What's your favorite season?
Probably spring.
Spring is nice.
New life, starting to get warmer again. Yes.
I kind of like. I like the fall and the spring. They're a little moderate. Fall. It was really hot these past couple.
It has been.
So it's been nice to have the cool air. You can feel the fall, the leaves. It's just the things to come. Like I'm looking forward to Advent. Yeah, and All Saints Day.
Yeah. And
Thanksgiving. It's going to be wonderful. So good luck with your ministry. This was fun.
You.
Sorry I couldn't have more time with you, but I know I'll see you soon.
Sounds good.
Let us know what's going on in Atco.
Absolutely.
And keep us informed. And Mike, thank you so much.
Thanks for
having me on again. Feel better, sir. Say many prayers
to
say prayers for Mike and I and Laurie.
Thank you.
If you can. Thank you for your support, everybody. And we'll see you on Talking Saints or Talking Catholic. Have a great weekend.